Morphine found in the locker of Sydney nurse who said he killed Israeli patients. A Washington recession begins. D.C. active home listings soar. Jobless claims spike as Doge drains the swamp. The Iranian state cleric suggests Trump is the one-eyed Antichrist. Welcome to Today in Prophecy Daily News in 15 minutes or less. News with the perspective of the Bible. Israel 365 News reports Israel releases 369 terrorists with warning, we won't forgive and we won't forget. This is a story covered a little bit earlier today with David Tal, and you'll look at all of the different terrorists that are being released from the prisons in Israel. One huge problem that Israel has is they do not have a death penalty. So all of these prisoners are just held indefinitely in prisons. They're murderers, they're rapists, and it really hurts Israel because then they end up negotiating to release these very evil people in exchange for getting hostages who were brutalized by the very terrorists. Just absolutely awful. But if you think about this, while these terrorists are being released, where are they going? They are going back into Gaza. And Gaza is already radically radicalized. And we see the generations of people there in Gaza that are, they're radical. They're terrorists. And then you have these terrorists that are coming back home. What is Israel going to do? I look at this, and Israel's only solution is to track every single one of them that they are releasing. They are putting a shirt on them with the Star of David on it as they release them. And then it was just a couple of weeks ago that we reported that also Israel was releasing prisoners and putting a wristband on them that had Psalm 18 on it, which got the Red Cross all upset. And the Red Cross said, how could you be so inhumane as to put a Bible verse on these wristbands? But nevertheless, Israel, you look at this, for me, when I look at this looks like a really bad deal that Israel is getting. Nevertheless, they want to get their hostages back. It also is an indication, if you're paying attention to the Bible, that Israel is being pushed into a place where they're going to do anything in order to have peace. How long can Israel live having neighbors that just want to kill them all the time? You enter in the Trump factor. Very interesting things are changing. And we know that ultimately there's going to be an Antichrist who's going to come, who will be the only friend that Israel is going to have. And it appears that Israel is being pushed that way right now. We're going to see this Iranian cleric who is saying Trump is the Antichrist. We'll get to that story in a few more minutes. But here's this out of the Al Jaminer. Arab states to reveal 5-year plan to rebuild Gaza, no Hamas or relocation. Arab countries will unveil their plan for the reconstruction of Gaza on February 27th in Cairo. This initiative, developed by the Palestinians and handed over to the Egyptians for implementation, will be presented to the leaders of Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. The plan provides for reconstruction over 3 to 5 years without the displacement of the Palestinian population and without Hamas control. The funding, estimated at several $100 million, will come from Gulf countries. The work will be carried out by Egyptian companies, representing a significant source of income for Egypt, which is strongly opposed to any migration of Palestinians out of Gaza. The workforce will consist mainly of local Palestinians. The goal is to marginalize Hamas so that it understands that it has lost control of Gaza, and to completely eliminate the terrorist organization's grip on the population and the territory within 5 years from the start of reconstruction. So interesting. These Arab states are trying to put together a plan. They don't necessarily like the whole Trump plan, but I also read a report earlier today and also yesterday where the leader of the UAE is saying there is no alternative but Trump's plan. So listen, this is changing daily. We'll see February 27 when these Arab states have their meeting, how all of this is going to shake out. This is what we do know. Again, it's news with the perspective of the Bible. Where's it all going to end? We know from Isaiah chapter 11, Ezekiel chapter 25, Zephaniah chapter 2, just those 3 passages alone, that the people who dwell in Gaza, they will be removed from Gaza, and Gaza itself will ultimately be turned into a place of pastures for the tribe of Judah, pasture lands to raise their herd. So as we think of it, will there be a riviera? Perhaps there will be a temporary riviera that is built in the area of Gaza, but maybe not. Maybe it will never make it to that place. But ultimately, how it does end, the people, the radical element of Gaza will be removed, and Israel will take that land. Finally, they will take it. If you look back at Israel's history, Israel was supposed to have that land of Gaza. God had allotted it to them, but the tribe of Dan rejected it. And the reason the tribe of Dan rejected it, they were given Gaza specifically. They rejected it because they said the enemy is too strong in Gaza, and we don't want to fight against an enemy that is that strong. So out of God's will, they left. The tribe of Dan relocated and eventually ended up north, where you have those areas. If you've been to on an Israel tour, in fact, we're going there in March, to the area of Tel Dan, which is up north, that was settled by the tribe of Dan when they were supposed to have the area of Gaza. So very interesting. Here it was, the tribe of Dan out of God's will. And then here it is, all of these thousands of years later, Israel is still dealing with this problem. It was there at the time of Samson, when Samson went to Gaza and took the gates of Gaza. Still a problem for Israel, but according to the prophecies, the bad element of Gaza is going to be removed from the area of Gaza. Maybe that's why God has placed Trump into power, to clear out Gaza. But ultimately, will it be a riviera? Maybe temporarily, but not forever, because we know eventually, as the prophecy says, it'll be a pasture land for the tribe of Judah. They will be raising their herds there. Moving on from there, we move over to Australia. Frightening. Morphine found in locker of Sydney nurse who said he killed Israeli patients. Now, I don't know if you've been following this news or if you've seen the video where he actually said this. It is disturbing when you have this being stated publicly, we kill Israelis, or literally meaning we will kill any Jews. You come to a hospital, we will kill you. As I look at this, this is very disturbing. If you are a Jewish person, anywhere you go in this world, you've got to be on alert right now. When we start thinking, this is one of the things that I believe that is going to be used in order to draw and call out and actually force Jews out of some of the Western countries that they're in, like America, and force them to go back home, because Israel is apparently going to be the only safe place. If I was a Jewish person and I was at the hospital, I'd be very concerned about the hospital I'm going to, the people that are working there. Can they be trusted? Will they kill me or attempt to kill me just because I'm Jewish or Israeli? But again, as we see God's word, he says, I will draw them from the north, the south. I'll draw them from the east and the west. I will bring them back home. Israel is going to be the only place that a Jew is going to feel safe. It's interesting as we watch Jews doing their aliyah, making their way back to Israel, coming home for Israel to make Israel their homeland again. The migration was huge, even during a time of war. But now you look at this, how much further is this going to go? Because are Israelis or Jews only going to feel safe going to a hospital in Israel where they can get the treatment that they needed, let alone that many of the people that are working in hospitals now are Jewish, even in the Western world. But how long is this going to continue? And I've got to wonder, is my friend Avi Lipkin, is his words right, that there's a Holocaust of sorts coming to America that is going to be driving more and more Jews back home? And maybe this also is part of the Trump factor. When you look at Judea and Samaria, if you go back just a few months to the Biden administration and the UN and the way the world was, just going back to pre-election, any Jews living in Judea, Samaria, constantly under threat, called settlements there. Listen, that is Israeli land. With the Trump factor, is it going to allow for all of these Jews to be able to come back and settle in their own homeland the area of Judea and Samaria. So perhaps that's it. Perhaps the reason God has Trump into power is to clear out Gaza in order for the prophecies to be fulfilled regarding Gaza. Perhaps also for Judea and Samaria to be able to call those Jews back home, that they would be able to live there in a time of peace and safety, as the radical elements will be driven out of Judea and Samaria. If you want to know more about that, you can watch the video that I did with David Tal a few hours ago. But very interesting dynamics as you start to put all of this together. And we realize, regardless of what a person thinks about Trump, God raises up kings and deposes kings. And as we watch the Mideast taking shape, you start to see Bible prophecies that need to be fulfilled. Fascinating. Moving on from there, Zero Hedge reports Washington recession begins. D.C. active home listings soar. Jobless claims spike as Doge drains the swamp. Listen to this. Absolutely fascinating. The housing market, it appears to be plummeting. But check this out. While a rise in listings is typical during a presidential transition year, in other words, people listing up their homes to sell them because they got to move, especially ahead of the spring selling season, the region's heavy concentration of federal workers, Washington, D.C. area, is a major cause for concern in the era of President Trump and Elon Musk's Doge. That's because as of last week, Trump had already slashed 275,000 federal jobs. That's 275,000 people that are out looking for they have to look for a new job. Now, the article also goes on to say there's another problem, because most of these people, by far the large percentage of them, have only worked in government positions. They have never worked in the private sector. What I want to say to them is, well, the private sector is entirely different. You're expected to be on time. You don't have all kinds of special benefits. It's a whole different world. And now they've got to go out and look for a job, and I'm guessing look for a job elsewhere. Of course, when you start looking at this and think all of this is going to lead eventually to UBI, Universal Basic Income, as we watch the rise of AI and other things that are going to be rapidly developing. I personally think this is just the beginning of people being out of jobs, which will force people into that UBI. Well, check out this story. Iranian state cleric suggests Trump is the one-eyed Islamic Antichrist. A senior cleric appointed by Iran's supreme leader suggested in a sermon on Friday that U.S. President Donald Trump was the one-eyed Islamic equivalent of the Antichrist prophesied to menace humanity around Judgment Day. He is completely one-eyed, and this is a sign of the end times. Syed Hassam Amili told the congregants in a sermon for Islamic Friday prayers, according to the Tehran-based Didban news website. Amili is Al-Khamenei's representative to deliver the weekly sermon in the large northwestern city of Ardali, and Friday prayer leaders' remarks reflect official thinking in the theocracy. So the official thinking then is, hey, Trump is the Antichrist. And I want you to understand this. What Islam teaches about Antichrist is almost exactly the opposite of what the Bible teaches about Antichrist. What I see is great deception coming from the Islamic world. They're going to be looking to a leader who they think is the Messiah, and he is going to be the false Christ. So when somebody jumps on board, and I know many people will say, even you have Muslims that say Trump is Antichrist. I'm telling you, that is a major deception in and of itself. Stick with the Bible, and you'll understand these are two opposing views on who the Antichrist is as he comes into power. In fact, the Islamic view is the first rider on the white horse is the Messiah. We look at the first rider on the white horse is the fake Messiah, or at least the representative of the beast system that is being ushered in to announce the fake Messiah that is coming. God bless you guys. Thank you for joining me today. Listen, we had a great time, Calvary Chapel, Pearl Harbor. Join me tomorrow if you can. Tuesday evening, I'll be at Calvary Chapel of the Harbor in Huntington Beach with Pastor Joe Pettick and Netanyahu's social media influencer, Hananiah Naftali. God bless you guys. See you tomorrow.